Welcome to The Unlikely Executive, the podcast for leaders who never expected to end up in charge, but are determined to do it well. I'm Barbra Carlisle, executive coach to founders, CEOs, and purpose-led leaders who want clarity, confidence, and a team that thrives. Each episode, I dive into real conversations with leaders who've navigated pressures and big decisions so that you can lead with courage, honesty, and impact. Let's get into it. Hello, and welcome to The Unlikely Executive. I'm Barbra Carlisle, executive coach and trainer for the construction, housing, and engineering sectors. And today I have a great honour to have Nikki with me, Nikki Folian, who is the chairperson of the Association for Black and Minority Ethnic Engineers, an organisation she set up, and she's the technical director at WSP. So welcome, Nikki.
Thank you. Thank you for the privilege to be on this.
It's a pleasure to have you, Nikki. You're technical director at WSP, and is that a leadership role or an individual contributor role?
I have a number of roles. I'm technical director, which means from a technical perspective, I lead on projects, some quite significant projects. But also I am a technical discipline leader, which means I manage all the technical competencies within my division, so across the UK and in India. I have a team of about 43 people across the world.
So you mentioned telecommunications, and when I had a little sneak look on LinkedIn, you started in the telecommunications space within this sector.
That's right.
What attracted you to that sector?
I sort of decided that telecommunications was what was going to make me have an understanding of televisions. So right from when I was really young, at the age of 8, as far as I can remember, I was always fascinated by how TVs work, because I never understood how you could turn on a box and there were people inside. And initially I used to think the people lived inside the box. And so my dad would say, oh, it's an aerial connected to, and I'm like, an aerial? And you see this piece of metal. And so that I've been consistently curious about how signals work. And so I didn't know it was engineering, actually. So I just thought, this is just a thing. And that's what got me into telecommunications. And that's what I followed through. So I did a PhD in antenna design and technology. That's serious. So I'm one of those people, like, I hone in on a topic and I'm like, I need to know everything about it. And yeah, and then I got into the transport telecommunication sector. So I've been in telecoms a long time.
Wow. So that's definitely an advert for allowing your kids to watch TV, isn't it, really?
Exactly. Sesame Street.
I won't go down asking you which character you identified with on Sesame Street.
Well, I'll tell you, even though you didn't ask me, I like Big Bird. And I always felt her friend, her imaginary friend, I always felt bad because she always missed her imaginary friend. Couldn't see it, but as soon as he left, everyone would come back and she's like, oh, he was here, and no one would believe her.
Sharing that, I think mine was the Cookie Monster. So telecommunications from an early age and a PhD, was that a recent addition to your professional portfolio, or was that done a while back?
No, a while back, over 20 years. So I did a degree and I wanted to work in telecommunications, but I found that in working, I didn't really fulfill that desire to really understand what I needed to. And so when the opportunity came to work and do a PhD, I took it because I'm doing research for an organisation. So I was working and studying towards a PhD.
How did you manage that boundary?
It was, for me, to be honest, mine was quite different because I was doing the PhD to fulfill the company's understanding of a particular topic. So the PhD work was the work. I had the luxury of, this was something that the organisation wants.
Yeah, that's like a bit of a golden nugget, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really, really beneficial to you. And one of the other things I'm curious about is that when I'm coaching people, particularly women in the engineering sector, there's a desire, many of them want to stay in the technical field, but there seems to be a pull them into project management or something that isn't technical. And how have you managed to stay within that technical expertise zone, which a lot of women in construction find quite difficult to do? Pressures.
I really recognise that, and I've had this conversations with people, on the journey trying to get to the top. Personally, I have always been quite clear on the fact that I didn't want to be, whilst I wanted to be promoted, whilst I wanted to go up the food chain, I wanted to make sure that I was known for technical excellence. So even when I took on the job at W, for me, and at the time when I joined the company, there wasn't actually a team. There was myself, my boss at the time. There was one apprentice and two contractors, and so we basically built this team from scratch. But I was very clear even at that time that I knew my strength was in the technical areas. I'd had an experience where I'd been put on a project which is with the Queen Elizabeth line previous to joining WSP, and I was asked to do something that considered non-technical interface management, and that really almost destroyed me, because I thought I have all these abilities. And it's funny that even years after, I remember meeting one of the architects on the project, and he was like, I'm surprised, I didn't realize you were a technical person. I didn't realize you were an actual engineer. I just thought you were an admin person that'd be brought on to support the project. And that's what tends to happen to a lot of women in these spaces, when people think, okay, you're good at organising, so you go and organise it. And so I always say to people, when those sort of things happen, is that you have to be very clear of what you want to do. And even whilst you're doing those roles, you have to be looking out for other opportunities to go back into something a bit more technical, which is what I did.
Yeah, no, that's really good advice. It's being clear, even if you don't necessarily see yourself as the best expert in the room, because that's another area that people sort of think, oh, maybe I should go into this X, Y, and Z area. But be clear, and then also look out for future opportunities. So never just stay complacent is what I'm hearing there. And in terms of now, you're still managing to do the technical side and managing people. What would you say were your biggest challenges at the moment?
I think my biggest challenge is people's expectations of what it means to be a senior woman leader within organisations. So people expect you to be strong but weak, passionate but not showing your passion about your work. They want you to be everything and all things at the same time. So that's my biggest challenge. They want you to be assertive but not assertive. So it gets really, really confusing for lots of people. And so I rely a lot on mentorship. I also rely on coaching as well to help me balance these kind of competing things. Understanding when to be passionate, understanding when not to be passionate, when your technical ability is challenged, because I get that often, or whilst your voice is loud enough, even when you speak aloud, no one seems to hear until someone else that's male says the same thing. And those moments being quite challenging, because thinking, when do I get to belong to this industry? I've been in this industry for 20 years. When do I get to belong? So those are the things that even now, whilst on the face of it, okay, you're in leadership, you're doing this, you've built a team, there's the evidence there that you can do this, on a day-to-day basis, it is still a struggle. And I think it's a struggle for a lot of women in sectors that are male-dominated, that you continue to feel that you need to show more, you need to be more, or sometimes actually you need to be less, so that everyone else feels comfortable. It's about making other people feel comfortable. And sometimes it feels that people don't do the reverse, where I need to be comfortable as well. But I'm so busy trying to make sure everyone doesn't feel that I'm so technical that they feel that their technical abilities are being questioned. But at the same time, I've got to be technical enough to be able to lead. So yeah, all those conversations and questions I have all the time.
So does that mean that you're 20 plus years in and you still don't feel that you truly belong in this industry as a woman?
I have many moments of feeling that I don't belong. Sadly, I have many moments. I like to be honest about this, because I think that it only will help other people that identify this this feeling of, wanting to feel like this is, this is my space. And I'm recognised that for being in this space, I still constantly have to prove myself like I just started in the industry. And it's really tiring.
Yeah. You mentioned that you've got mentors and coaches, but obviously that's like another person. to
Yes.
offload to, or to share your thoughts with, or to hold that space for you. But how do you manage in the day-to-day? How do you nurture that self-care in the moment?
What I do a lot of is in addition to talking to people, I actually listen to a lot of conversations, people that I look up to, that what I really enjoy doing is listening to authentic voices that talk about the challenges, but talk about ways of maneuvering and dealing with those challenges. And the other thing that I do a lot of is on a day-to-day basis is that I always have a plan.
Okay.
I don't care if I don't achieve the plan.
Right.
I don't care. But I have a plan. I say this a lot. I say this to my team a lot. Eyes on the prize. I always have a sticky note on my screen that says, this, that is what I'm going to do today. And so does it matter what is happening in the day? Or, you know, the challenges that I get in the day, I can always think, okay, that's tough, but I have this list to do, so I need to focus and do it. The sticky note, focus note has really helped me to look beyond what's actually happening in a particular situation.
Yeah, no, that's really useful, isn't it? To not get carried away with what's coming up, but know what it is that you want to achieve that day, that week, eye on the prize. And
That's right.
I guess after all these years, it's about being realistic what you can achieve in a day, because as a leader, you do get blindsided.
That's right. And to be honest, I learned that one later on, because at a point, I put so much pressure on myself. I remember at a point in my career, I was working on 8 projects, and I was working ridiculous hours. I'd leave the office sometimes at 11 o'clock. In fact, one day I left the office and I had to get to my sister's. I fell asleep on the train. And I ended up in Dagenham Dock. It was far away from where I was going. But yeah, you know, but I learned very, very quickly that, you know, you need to manage your own expectations of yourself.
Yes.
You cannot be 100% all the time. We'd love to say we're 100% all the time, but we're not. There are times when you just need to understand that, these are the things that needs to be done. I've got through 2, that's a win. Yeah, I'll get through another 2 or another 3 in another few days, and that's okay, you know, because it's moving. The important thing is that it's moving. So it's taken me a long time to get to that point, because point in my career, I put so much pressure on myself, and it was making me ill.
Yeah, and making you end up in Dagenham Docks, which I'm sure is very nice, but not where you want to be. How would you describe your leadership?
I'm quite assertive. I know what I want, and I know what I don't want. I'm very feelings person. I want everyone to feel like they are valued. So my leadership style is such that when we had the office space before COVID, people would say we're the loudest team in the office, because we'd go all to lunch together. We'd come back to the office. I spend time chatting doing one-to-ones with various people in the team. So not just find out about all their technical skills and abilities, but find out about what makes them tick. I have a team of people that have been in the industry, as in telecoms, as you can imagine, quite a long time, and they're working as part of my team. And so what I try to do is I try to give them opportunities to share their experiences, because sometimes they're just in the team not feeling like they're valued by anybody. They're feeling, okay, there's a new generation of people that kind of very different approach. And so I try to bring them along the journey. So I think my leadership style is one that is quite clear on what we want to achieve, but at the same time understanding that everyone is at different places. For me, it's not about the best team. It's about how the people in the team are feeling about the performance. You know, you can perform, but if the people in the team are feeling that they're exhausted because they're just carrying too much, it's very difficult. So for me, it's about making sure that everyone feels, okay, the goal is clear, but there's flexibility around what I can achieve in that space.
Yeah, so you allowing people that autonomy to do it in a way that suits them.
Yeah.
Just curious to ask a little bit about, have you experienced that boundary blur where people think you're one thing, as in more friendly than manager or leader, and how have you navigated that, if that has been an issue for you?
I'm not speaking on behalf of all women, but I think that's an issue for a lot of women in leadership, where setting boundaries of the fact that you're trying to be nurturing comes into play. So I have had moments where I have had to speak to team members in particular and say, whilst, you know, we can have a conversation about this at lunch or whatever, when we're in this particular space, I do expect you to meet these particular targets. I do expect you to do this. I do expect you to do that. And I always remind people that it's a place of trust. I can have these friendly conversations with you and nurturing conversations because I am building trust. And that trust is not just one-sided, it's reciprocal.
And do you get nervous before you have those difficult conversations, or is it something that you actively look forward to because it brings clarity?
I get very nervous because I don't know what the person's reaction is going to be. There have been good reactions. There have been not so good reactions. So some people have taken it on board. I remember having a conversation with a member of my team that I thought she particularly had a lot of potential, but I felt that she had become not as focused. And I talked about my disappointment, actually, and that really got to her, and she thought, my goodness, I don't want to ever disappoint you, so I'm going to do everything in my ability to make sure that we achieve the things that we need to achieve. On the flip side, I've had conversations with people that have thought, oh, right, okay, kind of taken a way that was negative. And for those sort of people and for those sort of situations, what I tend to do is I kind of give it a bit of gap, because I think there needs to be an understanding that I'm not going to back down because you've reacted in a way that isn't progressive towards what we're trying to achieve. And I wasn't like that before. Before, I'd be so worried and, oh, this is a problem, because again, my natural instinct is to make sure everyone's okay. So that's taken a lot of work to understand that you want everyone okay, but often it's not up to you that everyone's okay. You've just got to create the space for people to be, and maybe over time they will get to the point where they realise we're all working in the same direction.
Yeah, and what I'm hearing there is that clear articulation around expectations, that safe trust, but it is got to be reciprocal, and you are professionals with jobs to do, and that holding that space for yourself and for them.
That's right.
Would you mind sharing a reflection on when times have been tough for you on that journey and how you've developed your resilience?
There are a number of occasions. Firstly, when, as I said, I was working on the project, and I remember one particular evening I was in the office trying to leave the office, and I bent down to get my shoes on, and I couldn't get up because I think it was a spasm of sorts. My colleague called 911. The ambulance came, and then the first question they asked me is, "Are you on any drugs? Are you taking any drugs?" And that was a moment for me to say, "Okay, you're working too hard. If they think that you're on something now," and that was a point of reflection, because I'm a yes person. So, can you do this? Yes. Can you do that? Yes. Oh, yeah, I'll take this on. And that was one point that I decided that it was okay to say, it's too much. I've got enough to do.
Sure.
Because I always felt if I said no, I might miss an opportunity, fear of missing out. And so that was number one moment. I thought, okay, now I need to be quite clear that when people ask me, can you do a million things? I need to check that I can comfortably do them. And I need to take an approach of, okay, I've got 8 things to do. I can't take any more until I shift to one. That approach has really helped me. And that was support from a coach, actually, that said, you need to do that to be able to have better capacity. It was when I had my son, he's 6 now, and leaving and coming back, he was born around COVID, and coming back and thinking, do I really fit in? Is the feeling that everything's changed? What is the next stage of my career? Is there a next stage? Is this it for me? Yeah. And working through that with a number of my mentors, having meetings with them and say, I feel stuck. I don't know what to do. What's the next step? Oh, maybe I should go into another industry. And those conversations really helped me to slow down, because bearing in mind I'd been working on my career, and then I had my son in my... So that moment of I can't continue at the pace I was going because this is the most important person in my life gave me another significant point to reflect on. What do I actually want to achieve in this industry? How do I want to carry on? What's the legacy piece for my child as well that I want to see, and what is the priority? And that was a tough moment as well, because I've always been very, in the next 5 years I'm going to be doing this, in the next 5 years I'm going to, and changing from that to what is important to you, what do you want to achieve ultimately.
Yeah. And it's interesting, isn't it? You mentioned the word slow down, but I'm sure you haven't slowed down I'm sure your pace is still quite fast when you're in work, but it's about the priorities, isn't it? And with the first example, it was a moment of trauma. Your body was physically, that's it, I'm done. Put your shoes on, we're done. But then having a baby, it's a different type of perspective, isn't it? And the two together say, right, okay, so what is my purpose? How can I enjoy both work and motherhood? And time for myself, presumably, at some point in your plan. But so thank you for sharing that. And just, I was curious, as you were talking about the first incident, were you aware, even though you were a yes person, you were working on 8 projects, were you aware that your body was the workload was taking a toll on your body, or was it just the spasms seemed to come out of nowhere?
Came out of nowhere.
Right.
I thought I was doing absolutely fine, and this, whenever I share this, people are quite surprised because I thought I was fine. I thought it's just this is life. You just work and work and work and work, and it's okay. And my body wasn't very happy with it because
it doesn't sound like it was very happy.
It wasn't very happy at all. And it thought, no, I don't think you're guessing it. I think we need to show you how bad it is. Because I wasn't sleeping as well. I was working and I was not sleeping because obviously the mind, it takes a bit of time to relax. So straight away, get up in the morning, straight away in the office, doing this, doing that. And alongside all of that, I was doing the AFBE as well. So I think the body just said, and at that point I had to listen, and I was grateful that it wasn't worse because it could have been something more significant. And
how do you check in on yourself in terms of your physical and emotional state now? Do you think about it, or are you not thinking about it?
I do consistently have check-ins with myself. I do consistently check what have I actually done this week that is for me, not for anybody else, for me. And just making sure that I'm not guessing, because half the time it was getting to the point of, there's a deadline, and you always go into panic mode all the time. I'm checking that I wasn't going into any panic modes about anything. And I keep saying to myself, no one's going to die. I know this sounds like, no one's going to die. So that's perspective.
Yes, yeah. Sometimes I end up sounding like my mum, trying to get it into perspective, but it works, and it is true. Yes. I want to ask you about AFBE. Do you want to remind people what it stands for, and if you just give us a little bit of background as to how it came about?
Okay, so AFBE is the Association for Black and Minority Ethnic Engineers UK. It's an organisation that was founded in 2007 by myself and my brother, Khalifa Lion. And at a time, I always say at a time when our industry was even less diverse and less inclusive than it is today. Ollie had joined the industry 4 years before me, and I thought everything was fine. And I joined the industry and then realised within the first week that I didn't quite fit as much as I thought I would. So I walk into the building and I find that I'm the only female engineer on the floor of about 150, and I'm the only black female. And that turned into a situation where I had constant reasons to wonder whether some of the comments and things that were said and things that were done were either said because of my gender or what the issues were. I remember feeling very down about what was going on. I was very much looking forward to joining this industry, and why is all this happening? And I remember I used to go to ladies and have a bit of a cry and just wipe my tears, come back to the desk and act like it was all okay. And talking to Ollie and finding out that he'd been having really challenging experiences where he was working as well. Some of the comments that were said to him were even harsher than some of the things that I'd experienced. And thinking that there might be someone that looked like us in a more senior position that we could talk to. And then doing a scan and realising there weren't that many people of colour in senior positions that we could talk to. And then reaching out to our friends and saying what's actually going on in the organisations you're working with. But more importantly, at the time, we lived in the Croydon area. There was a lot of gang crime in London, and so all sorts of things in the news. So we knew about young people of colour that were being stabbed, and that stereotype was scary because the Prime Minister of the day said that black culture was responsible for crime. So it seemed like everything was happening all at the same time. the Royal Academy of Engineering was calling for more role models from diverse backgrounds. And so we then wrote to our friends, and we had our first meeting actually in Ollie's flat back in 2006. And we said, one, we wanted to showcase that we are a community of people that could make a difference, a positive difference, so through schools outreach and so on. But we also wanted to be there to support each other in the challenges. So turning the challenges we were having and trying to put something into someone else was our approach to helping the situations we were in. And so whilst these situations in our workplaces didn't change for a long time and we still had those challenges, there was always an outlet to say, look, I'm supporting someone else, so I've got to keep on going. Otherwise, what is the point?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how AFB was created.
So what's
Yes.
kept it alive?
I think, to be honest, I think it is the passion that has kept it alive, and the need and the difference that we kept seeing that we're making. We have around, over the years, been around 19 years now. Over the years, we've had about 30,000 beneficiaries. We've seen people that we met at secondary school working in the industry, now senior engineers in the industry. Actually, we've had quite a few people come through our programs and now working in the industry. And those people wanted to give back as well. Those people seeing the need, those people understanding the importance of role models and the support that they got, especially when you talk about that transition journey into the world of work. So there's a stats that the Royal Academy provided that shows that 33% of undergraduate engineering students are from Black and minority ethnic groups. However, in the industry, at the moment, there's only 12.4% of us. At the time, actually, when we started, there's, I think, only about 4 to 6%. So we know that there is a challenge. There's an overrepresentation of Black and minority young people in university studying to get into the profession. But when you look at the profession, you find out that the industry has very few. So that there is a challenge in that transitioning from studying to work. And so we continue to bridge those gaps. And it's been such a rewarding thing to do, to just be part of someone's story, be part of someone's journey, and those people getting inspired to do what you've given back to other people. So that's how we've kind of sustained it. And obviously, we've also had the support of many organisations seeking to change things in the space as well, to diversify the industry. So yeah, it's a lot of hard work, but it's just so rewarding when you see a young person that you met at, 16 in the industry thriving.
Can I just check, is AFB a membership organisation, or do large tier one sponsor the
So
setups?
we have a membership organisation. So we have a student membership, we have a professional membership, and then we have corporate members as well every other year. So we had the gala, the AFB gala, which had around 600 people, and when we have AFB Live Conference 2026, which is in October in Birmingham for the very first time, because we're always in London. And we have been able to create a system whereby if you are really wanting to make a change, either as a company or as an individual, or even if you're trying to get into the space, we've created avenues for people to reach in and be supported.
That sounds absolutely amazing. And I think, I'm going to ask you, what's the highs of working with your brother? And is he still involved? Is Oliver still involved?
Oh yes, absolutely involved. We work. We're quite similar. Sometimes we almost say the same. So we are very similar. The highs of working with Ollie is that he's specifically very knowledgeable on a lot of, on an incredible range of things, because he reads a lot and he's someone that is on a constant journey of learning. And you have no doubts that this person is supporting you and wants the best for this organisation.
How might people get in touch with you?
I'm still on LinkedIn, so people can get in contact. I always love to hear from people, especially where they are and if any of the things I've said resonate. But also I'm available via the FB website.
Thank you ever so much for taking time talking to me today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. I've really enjoyed this. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to The Unlikely Executive. If today's conversation challenged you, encouraged you, or gave you clarity about how you lead, then make sure you follow the show so that you never miss an episode. I'm Barbra Carlisle, founder of Glee Coaching. I help leaders who never expected to be in charge to show up with courage, fairness, and conviction. Until next time, lead well, stay honest, and keep doing the work that matters.